You are tuned in to a Fireside chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Today, my guest is Andrew Norton Webber. Andrew is an artist from North Carolina. In his commitment to healing himself and his family of debilitating illness, he has left no stone unturned to find the core essence of healing. As a result, he uncovered ancient spiritual truths which share a common denominator: water, or liquid gold. This is the second in an ongoing series in which we discuss the miraculous healing power of liquid therapies. So let's welcome Andrew back to the show now. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hey, Lance. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. About the same.
All right.
So we just did a show on Saturday, which introduced people to some of your research and findings, which I find quite miraculous, and have been doing myself. So, what would you like to cover in this show, the second in a series?
I think what we didn't get to spend enough time on was practical applications, and I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of questions about how to use it and how much and when and so on. So I think we could easily take this time to do that.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah. I was going to say, just in general, what I mainly mentioned was drinking a gallon a day
of distilled water.
Of distilled water.
Right.
We'll cover both uses of urine and distilled water. I'll try to flip back and forth between the two. But just in general, I think, because most people are going to start with distilled water. A gallon a day is what you want to really flush out the body. A force multiplier to that is to drink a pint of it all at once. As you're doing your gallon a day throughout the day, don't just sip it nilly-willy, but throw a whole pound down, which is a pint, which is 16 ounces, and there's 8 of those in a gallon. So conveniently, if you can, when you have an empty stomach, if you get it down there really quickly, distilled water is the heaviest water that there is. Per volume, it actually weighs more, since there's no other particulate in it taking up space. Hydrogen and oxygen are very heavy. And so this actually has a real weight to it. And when you throw it down there on an empty stomach, it puts a literal internal pound of pressure against all the acids and minerals in your body. And so this one doctor, Dr. Hanish, came up with a way, even if you still want to eat 3 meals a day, to do it right when you wake up, and then just 10, 15 minutes before breakfast, and then halfway in between breakfast and lunch, and then 15 minutes before lunch, halfway in between lunch and dinner, before dinner, and maybe halfway in between bedtime, and then again before bedtime. That's a way to stretch it out and a way to get a whole gallon in. It seems very intimidating to people at first, to the idea of drinking a whole gallon. So another way that we found that makes it easier for people to get through it is to actually do more than just a pint when you first wake up. 2 pints, which would be a quart. That is one thing, but then we're even, some people have done a half a gallon right when they wake up, and that really really gets the day started. And then you've only got half a gallon left for the rest of the day. And some people are having some troubles with sleeping. If you are doing that much water throughout the whole day, and if it's consistent even up till you go to bed, then you wake up a lot, and you know, maybe every 1.5 to 2 hours, you just have to go pee. So it's possible that doing the half gallon right when you wake up, and then the rest of the half gallon during the rest of the middle of the day, might help with the sleep issue, and you won't be so full of water. But then you will have run the whole thing through yourself. It's a volume that you need. Like I said in the earlier one, you need the more molecules you go down through you, the more of them there are to pick up treasures of junk.
Yes, and to briefly reiterate, the junk that we're referring to includes about 30 or 40 inorganic minerals and chemicals that are toxic to the body, which the body stores away in its infinite wisdom to do no harm. And that includes the infamous fluoride, which is ironically pulled into the pineal gland. So when we're flushing out with using the distilled water for starters, as your half-gallon challenge suggests, then we're actually pulling out the very things that have been stored in our bodies and our bones and our teeth and our hair, which keep us dumbed down. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. No engine in the world works very well when it's got deposits and corrosion all through it. We definitely don't pour sand in our gas tank when our engine's running that. We run engine cleaner through it. And distilled water is the engine cleaner for the human body. Since we're water-based creatures, that's another reason why I'm calling it liquid human, is you're replacing the very thing that you're mainly made out of, which is water.
Yeah. Now, do you think that might have an additional effect? I mean, not only does it open the psychic channels, which we have naturally available to us, but doesn't that also affect the electromagnetic balance, the pH level, the alkaline acid level, and the magnetic or gravity pull of the moon and the rest?
The pull of the moon on us?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, if you increase your own magnetism?
Yeah. That maybe it decreases the pull.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. If you have less junk inside you.
Right, because all of those metals are pulled in the body through water. And so it seems logical that if we're cleaned and we're organic, that the water is not going to be pulled around like being towed on a tow truck, like a broken down car.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
also, if it raises your alkalinity, makes you perfectly alkaline, you'll have everybody reports having more energy than ever before. And that makes sense because it's hydrogen and oxygen that you're throwing down there, and we generally tend to think of water as something nondescript and, water is just water. But when you're throwing down just distilled water, it's pure hydrogen and pure oxygen. Those are both rocket fuels, and people have, just within 3 days of drinking a gallon a day, you'll have more energy than you ever had before.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, we might want to mention the effects of detoxing as well, and how it's important to not confuse these with the distilled water creating them. Right.
If you do start drinking a gallon a day, it will start to melt garbage out of you, and it's got to come out. Better out than in. But you might start getting flu-like symptoms, or nausea, or headaches, or vomiting, or diarrhea, or rashes and pimples in weird places, terrible breath, armpits, feces, and sinuses, all smelling worse than ever. But know that it's only temporary, and it's a direct sign of the distilled water ripping apart, piece by piece, all the junk that's inside you. And that's really what is causing all illnesses. To sum it up in simplicity, it's toxic overload. And the reason, another way of understanding why this is so suppressed is that it removes the cause of illnesses. And it's not so much that you need to say that it cures AIDS or cancer or diabetes. It's that it removes the cause of these problems. And so these problems can't exist. Either they can't develop, and or if you have them, they go away when you remove the cause of them. And Western and Eastern science, medical science, are mainly focused on, or almost entirely, removing symptoms and treating symptoms. And this is an on-purpose money-making machine. If they do not ever treat the cause of the symptoms, they're guaranteed repeat business. And this water method, I don't care what illness you have, it cannot fail because it's what you're made out of. And the testimonials back that up 100%.
My own included.
Yeah. And bringing people back from death's door. Let's see, what else? Let's talk a little bit about urine and what people can do to get started on that if they want to.
Okay.
Probably the most minimal thing you can ever do is if you get a cut, is to just put it on a cut, and that'll gently allow you to see how it'll heal a wound faster than anything you've ever seen. But it'll also get you to try it a little bit. The next thing you can do, and to get a great beneficial effect, is to put 10 drops under your tongue every morning for 10 minutes. And forget about it, go tie your shoes or whatever and get dressed. But the two lymph nodes under your tongue produce antibodies, and homeopathic-sized dots of everything that's wrong with you will be in your morning's urine, well, in all of your urine, but your mornings especially, since you've been asleep for 8 hours, your body's been doing repair work, and there's a lot of information in that one. You'll find your pee gets clearer as you go on throughout the day. But if the only thing you did with your urine throughout the day was to put 10 drops under your tongue for 10 minutes, that's like giving yourself a daily auto-vaccination because it allows those lymph nodes to study what's wrong with you and to start producing the proper antibodies in response. After that, you can work on, you can smell it, you can slowly take sips of it, and you'll very soon see that it's not nearly as bad as you thought it would be. If you want to cure yourself of anything and everything, if you're in any kind of shape, it's this piece of knowledge is right here in anybody's lap to just start. You can either just start drinking distilled water, or you can just start drinking your own water and over and over again. And if you Google urine therapy or you punch it into Amazon, there's books aplenty out there from people all over the planet testifying that this is real and that it works, and that it works with no side effects aside from detox symptoms. But definitely no side effects like all the other plethora of drugs that are out there. And this is going directly in accordance with Hippocrates, saying only the body can heal the body. Well, this is about as directly following that statement as you can get.
Well, it does seem, too, that we are literal feedback loops for ourselves. Not only does the world or the universe mirror back to us of what needs to be looked at so that we can make course corrections, we have it within our power to grasp our own power and to cure ourselves and to heal ourselves and to learn more about our body and to empower the body to heal us, because we are spirit wrapped in flesh, And the body has to be working properly in order for the spirit to make its connections, and for the higher self and all of those other aspects of source connection and the psychic abilities to awaken. And so, we see the results of all of these numbing and mind-numbing elements being put into our bodies, in our air through chemtrails and radiation. This we could go on for a long time about all that, but I found it interesting that distilled water cannot carry radiation in it. So, in a time when there are toxic substances in the air and water that we can't escape from, it's really vital to make sure that our bodies are not ingesting any of those substances.
Yeah. So we have the ability to distill out radiation, too. If we happen to come in contact with radioactive particles, you can just start looping your own water. And this really means that all of us, if we had to drop the phone, radios, or our internets, and just run for the hills for whatever reason, we all have our own watering system with us. And not only is it a watering system, but it supplies you with a water that will lift you to the heights of human experience that none of us in this current 21st century debilitated state can even really imagine or have experienced yet.
Now, what are some of the results of looping your own water consistently throughout the day? You've done an enormous amount of research, and this goes back before Egyptian times, and the Hindu and Vedic scriptures write about it, and so do the Romans. So what can you tell us about the results of doing this?
The classic way is a fast, let's say a 20 to 30-day urine fast. That, in general, is what brings the body, not only rids it of all illness and disease, but then people get into the realms of erasing depression, and they have more clarity, psychic abilities, and so on. But what happens in the course of that is the ultimate way to put the pedal to the metal, is to stop eating and start looping your own water. And if you, as we talk about urine therapy testimonials, anybody out there, just know that you can substitute in distilled water into these testimonials and expect almost identical results. Just slow down the time frames a little bit. It seems like in urine therapy, what'll take a month on urine will take 3 to 4 months on distilled water, which is still a miraculous rate compared to, you can't even expect to clear yourself of diabetes or cancer or AIDS in anything Western medicine, let alone 3 to 4 months and be done with it.
Right, absolutely.
But the ultimate pedal to the metal is to stop eating, and those are the majority of the case studies that I've studied. And what happens is, for one thing, within 3 to 5 days, the urine becomes rainwater clear. Maybe 7 at the most if it's your first time ever and you have a lifetime of toxicity built up. But eventually it does become so clear that you could serve it in a restaurant, and seriously, not only do people not know that it's urine, but they would be telling you it's the best water they've ever had, because it's become distilled so many times. And like we already know, one time through the body, it's more distilled than distilled water, more sterile. So now imagine, 7 days out, when you've drank it 80 times over already, just in that period alone, it becomes, off the charts distilled, let alone once you get into 100 days and 10 months and 10 years. But coming back to fasting, so in the roughly 5 days, it'll become rainwater clear. And within that first week is when people tend to have typical kind of what I call easy detox reactions. Seems like all the loose junk that was easy to get and was laying around on the surface of your body kind of comes out in the first week, where you might have the flu-like symptoms, or a rash, or a strange pimple here or there, or some diarrhea, or some stool that just, the colors are weird, or the shapes are weird. But then, and you're defecating mostly matter at first, but then it slowly becomes a liquid and almost, just pure water. As you get into, 1 and 2 and 3 weeks out there into the fast, there is something strange that happens. It's not really strange. It seems to be it makes sense. Always at about 20 to 23 days out, whereas people have been defecating nothing but water for the past 2 to 3 weeks, there's constant testimonial of waking up and not being able to run to the bathroom fast enough, or just also needing to get to the toilet, and strange objects start falling out of people, like tumors and crystals. They describe them as black crystals. And it's like, the way I visualize what's happening is that the distilled water, like I said, the easy things get swept out first in the first week, but the real decades-old deposits, the plaque inside your arteries, maybe the stuff on your pineal gland, all the really hard, dense stuff in between your bones giving you arthritis, it seems like maybe all of that stuff, it's denser, and it takes a while for it to soften up and let go. But finally it does, and just consistently, somewhere between 20 and 23 days out, people run to the toilet and objects come out of it. It's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. But that tends to be one particular guy I know had liver cancer. That happened to him. About 3 weeks out, he was on a pure urine fast, and he defecated a black crystal the size of a baseball. Ooh, and it hurt so much coming out that he passed out and broke his forehead and his nose on the bathtub. His wife came in and woke him up, and he said when he woke up, he felt like his body was being lifted by angels. Wow. Or he was full of elation. And he said that was just the beginning of it. After that, for the next couple of days, all these other kind of black, smaller crystals came out of him. So there is this really does a serious, deep cleanse. And there is no stone that will be left unturned by distilled water. Yeah. But all these decades-old deposits they actually, turn into rock-hard stone. And that's what gout is, and just on, everything that's just binding people up. This water is all this, and it can be urine or it can be distilled water. It's up to you. It's just that urine is the fastest, and there's no water that can compete with that. But distilled water it's 1,000 times more powerful than any other water on the stores. So maybe urine's another 1,000 times more powerful than that. But either way, we're talking about some abilities that we all have to access for our health right now without any more terrible money going out your pocket or symptoms from all these toxic pills. You just need to go to the water. And it really makes sense to get a little bit esoteric that we're heading into the age of Aquarius. And at this time when we're just looking around and seeing decrepitude everywhere and people are degenerated and just in the worst mental and physical shape you've ever witnessed, along comes this knowledge of water. I think it's coming from Aquarius, the water bear. And it's so simple, it takes your breath away. You might even not, a lot of people just can't believe it. As some people have said to me, well, Andrew, if it's too good to be true, then it's not true. But anybody that experiments with this, they have the exact result. It can't not work. Right. And so I at least challenge everybody who is feeling skeptical about it, what can it hurt to try 3 months of a gallon a day of distilled water? Even at $1 a gallon, That's $90 to see if perfect water might have any good effects on a body that's made out of water. Just logically, anybody can see that. Sounds like it's a pretty good chance it might work well. But you will find that not only does it work well, but you'll quickly understand why it is such a suppressed piece of knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because it's what we should all be doing. It's the original instructions for this three-dimensional bodysuit. I want to also mention enemas and snorting. I'll mention snorting first because that's simpler. We've all spent terrible times during our lives with stuffed up noses. And you will not, I haven't tried this with still water, so it might cut through just as well. Oh. So somebody could try that. But urine, definitely, if you have a blocked up nose, put a little puddle of urine in each palm and snort it up each nostril. Some people can even put the glass to their nose and drink it up through their nose. But either way, if you pull urine up through, or use a neti pot and pour it through, it is such a blessed relief. It cuts through sinus goo like nothing else you've ever seen. Wow. And also, if you're stuffed up, just like pounding a quart of water, you will notice that anytime you do this, be body conscious for about 30 seconds to a minute afterwards, you will sometimes notice that your nose will start to run. You might feel a little bit of internal heat. You might feel a bead of sweat on your chest and your back. And what you're witnessing in real time is that water slicing through you and putting on that internal pressure against everything that's not supposed to be in you. Wow. So snorting is a fantastic way to clear your nose, especially if you feel a cold coming on. That's another great time to immediately start snort some. But enemas, a lot of times in the urine therapy books, they will recommend for an enema for no matter what the problem is, just because this is a way of clearing out your main sewer pipe. Like I know even online, one of my books, it says, you look up lung cancer. You're like, okay, what do I do for lung cancer? And the first thing it recommends is an enema. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm talking about lungs. But that's your biggest sewer pipe, and you clean that one out, and all the other smaller ones above it, they can start flowing as well. Oh. And so I can't stress enough the importance, especially for anybody who has got serious illness going on right now and is close to dying or thinks they have an incurable disease. Everybody should drop the radio and go grab an enema kit. It just really, really starts the process. And a lot of times you will find in the toilet afterwards black circular chunks or semicircular chunks, and those are the compacted matter that they talk about that gets stuck in the folds of your colon. And so either some fresh urine or aged urine or distilled water warmed up, that will be a great thing to use in an enema bag. If anybody ever has a hangover, distilled water is definitely a hangover helper, especially if you do a half gallon. That will really knock it out. You'd be surprised how much it can knock it out and actually put you in the opposite direction where you're feeling like you've got energy and you're ready to go, whereas you thought you were going to be down and out for most of the day. And just in general, anytime you're feeling bad, you'll start to see that you can use a pint or a quart of distilled liquids to instantly erase that problem, like a headache, menopause cramps. A lot of times those are caused by being dehydrated. But just in general, throwing a pint or a quart of water down the hatch, it seems to push out bad energy instantly. You know, like within a minute to 3 minutes, you just feel this. You just feel better, and it's just I've never seen it not work. Yes, I had to do that today myself. Because you were bad last night? No, I'm never bad. Okay. No, I don't drink, but
or do drugs, and I don't do pharmaceuticals either at the present moment. But no, I just wasn't feeling. I was feeling kind of punk and tired, and my body was achy. And I thought, well, what's going on? I'm drinking distilled water. I'm trying to recycle as much of my own as I can when it tastes good. I don't drink it when it doesn't taste good. But I pounded down a few glasses of distilled water, and I started to get so much energy before the show that I was actually a nervous wreck. I thought, now, gee, where are my Valiums? I need an Ativan, and I won't take those because I will not ingest pharmaceuticals, which feed the pharmaceutical industry and destroy my body and get stored and so on. But they do get washed out pretty quickly.
That's a good one. That's something that anybody can try just to experiment to see if we're making this all up or not. If they're feeling bad, to pound a quart of distilled water.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to hand out this life-saving, beautiful piece of knowledge that we all should have known our whole lives. From now on, anybody listening to this does not ever have to worry about being bit by a snake or a poisonous spider or a scorpion.
Okay.
Moments after, I don't care what snake it is either, if it's a black mamba or a coral snake or rattlesnake, moments after any poison enters the bloodstream, the antidote is in your urine, always and without fail.
Oh, of course.
Whatever is in your bloodstream, homeopathic-sized dots of it are going to be in the urine, and 15 seconds after you get bit, all you need to do is pee out a little bit into your hand and put it in your mouth and hold it under your tongue.
Wow.
The antigens are going to be in that urine, and the lymph nodes will study, and they'll produce the right antibodies.
Wow.
Not only, this is a way to stop any allergic reaction in real time, even if it's a kid that got not supposed to have peanuts or milk and they got close to them. Not only will their urine stop the reaction in real time, and for that matter, because of the universe is a hologram, anybody's urine will actually have the information to stop the kid or the person from having an allergic reaction if it's somebody that you can't get some urine from. Not only will it stop the reaction in real time, but if you make a homeopathic formula out of the urine during the height of the allergic reaction, you can keep taking that over a number of weeks, and you will actually educate the body to never even have that allergic reaction again in the first place, as in I'm saying you can completely erase allergies forever. And the way you do that is you take you only need 1 drop of urine, and you mix it into 2 tablespoons full of water. And you succuss it, meaning you shake it like 50 times violently. And now you've created a little homeopathic formula which has the signal or the vibration of that particular allergic reaction. And you could, 3 times a day, you could put 10 drops under your tongue and just hold it there and forget about it. And what that does, it'll keep giving you these little tiny pieces of the information of it, and it'll eventually, you might have to do it twice, 2 different doses of it. But eventually you can, if you get a urine therapy book, you can see how this is done, and you can erase any allergy permanently. But to sum up what I'm saying is you don't have to worry about any snake out in the woods. It's just just such a fear of so many people, especially if they think about going to the tropics or anywhere. But I have my own personal testimony of that. My father and I both physically look alike, and we're similar. We both have 2 similar allergic reactions. One is to walnuts, and one is to wasp stings. My dad and I we could know when we ate a cookie with walnuts in it, because even if we weren't told, because 10 minutes or half an hour later, our mouth would be full of cankers. and they'd last for a couple of days and be very painful. That's kind of a minor allergy, but I actually don't respond to them anymore. I didn't ever specifically try with a homeopathic formula to erase it. It's just because since I learned about urine, I've been drinking it kind of on a daily basis. I've gone ahead and had cookies and things with walnuts in them, and even make it now when in my raw food cooking I'll use walnuts. The continued drinking of the urine has erased that allergy because, I was continually eating walnuts as well, and so it did a self-education over time, and I don't react anymore.
Wow.
But my father and I are both deathly allergic to wasp stings, and I have a prescription for an EpiPen that I'm supposed to carry around with me. And the last time I got stung by a wasp, I went to the emergency room. My dad does the same thing. His chest starts expanding. We both start going to anaphylactic shock. And my skin will get tingly and itchy and red, and then my chest will start to expand and get tight. And the last time that happened before I knew about urine, I went to the emergency room, and it was full of people. It looked like, it'd be a 5-hour wait if you just had a broken thumb or something. But I told them I was having an allergic reaction to a wasp sting, and I sat down. They took my name, and I wasn't sitting but 7 seconds before they called me and immediately swarmed me with 5 doctors and nurses and put on the liquid IV, liquid Benadryl, oxygen to the face. They're taking my blood pressure, and they were manually calming me down and saved my life. And so I might have been 10 minutes from dying because anaphylactic shock just comes on really quick and can just take you out. About a year and a half ago, I got stung by a wasp again, and this time the first thing that went through my head was, oh my gosh, here's my chance. Because I've been reading about it, I've read all the different case studies, and I peed out into my hand about 15 seconds after I got stung, and I put it on my tongue and held it there, and I sat at the kitchen table with the car keys in one hand and the EpiPen in the other. And my friend was with me there who had taken me to the hospital last time. And 10 minutes went by, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I think somewhere at about 20 minutes out, I spit out what I had in my mouth and peed out some new stuff just to, I don't know, probably didn't need to, but I put in a new batch in my mouth. But this time, there was complete silence on the part of the body. I had not one single... The only thing I felt, aside from the initial pain of the sting, was 3 days later, I felt a little itching at the site of the sting. And so whereas last time, I was obviously on my way to dying, this time, just by performing this one simple trick, nothing happened.
Wow.
So that's my own
amazing
personal... Yeah.
Yeah.
When I gave a speech in Ecuador, there was a woman there who had worked at a field hospital in Nepal for 10 years. And she had under her belt 10,000 case studies of urine therapy because that's all that they used at this field hospital. And she said they treated everything. One thing I want people to know about is this is excellent beyond belief for burns. And I wish burn wards would apply this knowledge because urine will heal any burn with no stinging and with no scarring. And that's an impossibility according to Western science. And they treat people with much pain, and they put them on massive amounts of painkillers. And Japanese and Chinese families that still know about this ancient knowledge, they on average keep on hand 30 to 40 gallons of aged urine for emergencies. Or, for instance, if a little boy pulls a pot of boiling water out the stove and burns his whole body, you they wrap him in bandages and soak him in aged urine. And, this is what babies grow in. This is what we all grew in. And like I said, it's liquid human tissue.
Mm-hmm.
It will heal burn wounds with no scarring left over. This woman that worked at the hospital in Nepal, she said one of the cases was a child came in who had been near an explosion, and the hand of the child was burnt so badly, the finger, it was charred black, and it was burnt down to the bone. And they wrapped the kid's finger in bandages and soaked it with urine. And I think it was about a week later, I'm not quite sure, but when they took the bandages off, there was a brand new, all pure white finger.
Wow.
And it's hard to believe, but when you start reading, if you start collecting urine therapy books, what will immediately drop your jaw all the time is the speed at which urine heals things. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable, and with no side effects, and it eliminates pain at the same time. The ammonia takes the sting out of the burns. I also know you can use it for sunburns. I'm a very white-skinned person with Irish skin, and I live in South Carolina now, and a couple summers ago, I just started laying out in the sun once I learned that sunscreen was the main cause of the skin cancer epidemic. For one, I stopped using it, but then I also learned about urine, and I went from completely white to very brown tan by using urine. I would lay out in the sun with no sunscreen on, and even if I did get red for the rest of that night, whenever you start to feel that sting come on from a sunburn, just put a new fresh coat of urine on it, and it'll immediately take the sting away. But more importantly, it hydrates, which is the real cause of pain and problems with burns, is the skin has been dried out, and it keeps wanting to remain dry because of the damage from the burn. But urine is a moisturizer, and the urea allows each skin to hold its maximum amount of water, and at the same time, you're handing it the most perfect water in the world. So it's a double whammy of a win-win for the skin when you put on fresh urine. And I went completely from white to a beautiful tan with zero sunscreen and just completely laying out full on in the sun from the hottest, worst hours. And it just, it allows for a wonderful transition. So for anybody that's got any burns out there, serious burns as well, even if the wound is old and you have a scar, you could, say at night, you could start sleeping at night with a bandage soaked with urine on it.
Now,
and I guess
beauty pads are people who are into models, for instance, use this, don't they, for winning their contests? Yeah,
that's one of their biggest secrets, and I could say that you could tell by the ones that are, in their 70s, like, isn't Lauren Bacall, or there's some models, Sophia Loren, they just look amazing, no matter what age. Yeah. And I would say that those are the ones you could tell that they absolutely know about the secret. They put fresh urine on their face before they go to bed at night, let it air dry, and then wash it off in the morning. And the usage on the body, I should say that for anybody that's looking to kick a serious illness out, the most basic instructions, even from the 6,000-year-old Egyptian document, is to drink it and bathe with it once a day. Pretty much drink all of it. And once a day, take a full glass of it and give your body a full coating of it, like you're basting a turkey, and let it air dry before you rinse off. And try not to rinse off with soap, because that's actually counterproductive to healthy skin. Just do a water rinse. And no, urine will also clean the body. So you can use it both as a soap and as, it makes it'll heal your skin. But if you have to go out into the business world, generally using fresh urine will not have any stink to it. But if it did, or that you're afraid of it, obviously you can use some natural perfumes. But for anybody that's trying to kick a serious illness, they actually recommend you definitely once a day you want to do a full body rub down. If you can, you want to have somebody else give you a massage with it. That's even better. So it really gets it rubbed in well everywhere, and it's good. The massage obviously helps to stimulate and move the lymph system to help move out toxic garbage.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
But what about the positive, let's say, metaphysical or spiritual effects that might be related to what the Egyptians refer to as the 360-degree senses, which relate to the pineal gland being the master gland, which you pointed out in one of the shows has a crystalline substance, and that the fluoride that is in tap water and in many toothpaste and the rest of it literally shreds our DNA. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. I basically think that water will bring us to the next plateau, pure water, of where we can know and do anything that we all individually want to do. It's not that you have to do this to become part of a water cult. It's that water, this gives you a vehicle, mainly a perfectly functioning body, to do whatever it is that you want to do. And this includes all psychic powers that you've ever heard of. This is the vehicle to opening those up, and also to putting you, once you have the sight, whatever it is that you personally want to know. And, people sit around, they discuss things, you can't know that, you don't have any proof of that. This knowledge, this opening up of your entire real glandular system gets you to a point where you don't have to wonder and discuss things anymore. You can actually go find out answers for yourself rather than just sitting around at a table for years on end. When you only have the five senses, you can't really know anything besides what you can do with physical, scientific lab equipment.
Right. So that kind of ties into the recent release of the esoteric information on alchemy, which was brought to my attention recently, that came out from Anonymous, who is using beakers and alchemical methods to distill and condense the urine. I was surprised to find that this document talks about, certain beakers and things, and that you have to boil it down, and it takes about 18 months to do this. It's kind of interesting that urine is the substance that the alchemists have been using, and that this is part of the hidden information that we haven't been exposed to. It seems like what you're saying is that we don't have to wait 18 months, and that the alchemical processing occurs within the body, not within beakers made of glass that are outside of ourselves. Am I understanding this properly?
Yeah, I think the Book of Aquarius by Anonymous, and I don't think this is the same Anonymous that's doing protesting throughout the country, but it's definitely, I think it's an anonymous person because it's a ruse to take people off course. This person has done a gift to us. If you know how to read through the deceit, they've handed us all the best alchemical texts that prove that the method to attaining a philosopher's stone is urine therapy. And, of course, this book tries to steer you off course by saying that you need to use urine and to evaporate it over and over again so that over time, over 18 months, you will actually create, in a lab equipment setting, an actual stone or a powder that is the Philosopher's Stone. And once you have this powder in hand, then you're all powerful and you can perform magic tricks and you can turn lead into gold and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But what's obvious, if you understand urine therapy and how you see that it actually turns cancer-ridden, depressed people into healthy, shining, optimistic people, you know that this is the lead turning into gold that they're actually talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And all the lab equipment, they keep talking about having it adjust the right temperature. It's obvious that it's a ruse, that they're actually talking about the human body when they talk about this. So I hope for whoever out there has the Book of Aquarius, gently, I hope you know that it's a joke designed to steer you off course and to make you feel that you are powerless until you make the stone. You actually already, in this moment, have the power, and it's your urine that you're supposed to be circling through your body, and to be faithful to truth, it's really the water that does it, because it's water that life force is actually inseparable from. Yep. And so you could be running distilled water through your body, too. Right. But the real Philosopher's Stone is the crystal throne, the crystal pine cone in the center of your head. That is the Philosopher's Stone. It makes sense. That's a philosopher is a thinker, and that's your center of thinking right there. And it's covered with crystals, which are stones. It's not supposed to be a calcified philosopher's fluoridated stone. It's supposed to be a crystal-covered Philosopher's Stone. And the way to unleash its power after decades of being calcified is to keep running distilled liquids through the body, not through lab equipment. So unfortunately, this joke is out there to steer people off course, but hopefully those that are actually seeking the knowledge will hear this and it'll ring true to them.
Yes, and it rang true to me, and I think we each have our own inner truthometer, and that is our greatest gift, that we can intuit, even being dumbed down as we are, we can intuit for ourselves the truth. And what's false rings false, and the true, we just know it's true. I don't have to go pounding the books to verify what you've been saying and what we've been talking about. I'm testing it out on myself. And everything that you've said to me, for me, is true. So, plus I'm making other discoveries along the way which we haven't talked about yet, and which I hope to be able to write about and that we'll be able to talk about in future shows. So, yes, we are the alchemical crucible, and logically, why would Source, Creator, Creatrix, God, Goddess, all that is, why would we be created or have bodies that we incarnate into as spirit and essence and soul that had to have something outside themselves to complete themselves? The spiritual teachings throughout the ages all refer to the secrets, the truth of the power being within. I have yet to find a spiritual master that I have respect for who has walked their talk say that you must seek without. It just isn't done. And I think anybody listening to this show will realize that the secret, the power, is all within us. And that by turning within us, I'm researching some work by a person who will be on the show in the near future about the Carlos Castaneda's assemblage point, and I don't want to distract people off on another tangent. But again, this has to do with moving the assemblage point, and I believe that distilled water and urine therapy are some of the methods that we can use, maybe some of the most empowering tools at our disposal that are almost free. Today. So I'm finding that for myself, and I'm just will be forever grateful that you are bringing this information to us in a way that we can digest and understand and have more come to us in terms of the healing and the miraculous things that we haven't even really begun to cover yet. So, I have to thank you and Christy McMahon for those original shows that you did to get with her, because they're revolutionary, and you have YouTube videos, I believe she did, or that are posted on YouTube that can be Googled as well.
Yeah.
Yes, Vilcabamba in the Ecuador. Those YouTube videos were taken at a conference while you were there.
And on the ball of light thing, I guess I'd like to finish up by tying together the Philosopher's Stone coming alive by drinking enough water. That ignites the ball of light that's within. I want to argue for people here that we are all gods, and the basis of whenever you've seen a god in your life, in stories, be it Zeus or God, or Thor or whatever, it's always this entity that doesn't need anybody. The main premise is it's an all-powerful creature that doesn't need anything from anybody, and it's immortal and infinite. It's just always powerful, right? And that's what you are, because the main tenet I think that you see for life is you need water and light. And what we're revealing here is that we have our own internal water system. You have infinite water. You can loop and loop and loop. And you turn on the light inside your head, and now you have light. And when you close your eyes and meditate and look at your own inner light, which we call inner sun gazing, you have the ability, the physical structure of your body that is you is looking at the ball of light that is your soul. And you are actually recycling your own light. You're looping your light over and over and over again when you look at your own internal light. And so now we have a creature that has both water and light sources, completely self-sustaining and self-sufficient in your own sources. And that, to me, just spells a god. That makes you all-powerful. You have both of your own. You've got fire and water within. If that doesn't spell a complete creature, I don't know what does.
And if we aren't entering into the golden age now, well, then the universe will be a little late after 6.4 billion years and counting, with all these various cycles coming to an end. So it isn't called the golden age for no reason at all. And I am in complete agreement with you, and I am pushing myself as my own personal experiment on this biology and physiology to validate and discover these new realms that we're talking about now. So we're just about at the end of the hour, and I want to thank you for returning to do this second show. We will be doing a third show in the near future. And is there a way that people can find out more from you or about you that you would like to share with the listeners today?
They can see my artwork at ANDREWNORTONWEBBER.com. Webber's got 2 B's in it. If they want to get a hold of me, my email is contact@ANDREWNORTONWEBBER.com. Like we said before, we have a site called AquariusTheWaterBearer.com, which is being built and is very close to being launched, and we're just getting our hosting online. But the purpose of that site is I want to accumulate all collected water knowledge to be there. We want all the urine therapy case studies, all the different doctors' quotes on distilled water. Well, that's what we're going to try to have all water knowledge kept, just so everybody knows.
Fantastic. Well, I personally know several people, friends, that are doing this now, what we talked about, and they're having absolutely miraculous results. So there will be more information as we move along through this dense world that we live in, and this is a wonderful golden ray of hope. Andrew, thank you again, and thanks everybody for listening, now and in the future, and in the past, and we'll talk soon. Okay?
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everyone. BBS. you think that that might have an additional effect? I mean, not only does it open the psychic channels, which we have naturally available to us, but doesn't that also affect the electromagnetic balance, the pH level, the alkaline acid level, and the magnetic or gravity pull of the moon and the rest?
The pull of the moon on us?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, if you increase your own magnetism?
Yeah. That maybe it decreases the pull.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. If you have less junk inside you.
Right, because all of those metals are pulled in the body through water. And so it seems logical that if we're cleaned and we're organic, that the water is not going to be pulled around like being towed on a tow truck, like a broken down car.
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
also, if it raises your alkalinity, it makes you perfectly alkaline. Everybody reports having more energy than ever before. And that makes sense because it's hydrogen and oxygen that you're throwing down there, and we generally tend to think of water as something nondescript and, water is just water. But when you're throwing down just distilled water, it's pure hydrogen and pure oxygen. Those are both rocket fuels, and people have, just within 3 days of drinking a gallon a day, you'll have more energy than you ever had before.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a volume that you need. Like I said in the earlier one, you need the more molecules you go down through you, the more of them there are to pick up treasures of junk.
Yes, and to briefly reiterate, the junk that we're referring to includes about 30 or 40 inorganic minerals and chemicals that are toxic to the body, which the body stores away in its infinite wisdom to do no harm. And that includes the infamous fluoride, which is ironically pulled into the pineal gland. So when we're flushing out with using the distilled water for starters, as your half-gallon challenge suggests, then we're actually pulling out the very things that have been stored in our bodies and our bones and our teeth and our hair, which keep us dumbed down. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. No engine in the world works very well when it's got deposits and corrosion all through it. We definitely don't pour sand in our gas tank when our engine's running that. We run engine cleaner through it. And distilled water is the engine cleaner for the human body. Since we're water-based creatures, that's another reason why I'm calling it liquid human, is you're replacing the very thing that you're mainly made out of, which is water.
Yeah. Now,
I think what we didn't get to spend enough time on was practical applications, and I'm sure a lot of people had a lot of questions about how to use it and how much and when and so on. So I think we could easily take this time to do that.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah. I was going to say, just in general, what I mainly mentioned was drinking a gallon a day
of distilled water.
Of distilled water.
Right.
We'll cover both uses of urine and distilled water. I'll try to flip back and forth between the two. But just in general, I think, because most people are going to start with distilled water. A gallon a day is what you want to really flush out the body. A force multiplier to that is to drink a pint of it all at once. As you're doing your gallon a day, throughout the day, don't just sip it nilly-willy, but throw a whole pound down, which is a pint, which is 16 ounces, and there's 8 of those in a gallon. So conveniently, if you can, when you have an empty stomach, if you get it down there really quickly, distilled water is the heaviest water that there is. Per volume, it actually weighs more since there's no other particulate in it taking up space. Hydrogen and oxygen are very heavy. And so this actually has a real weight to it. And when you throw it down there on an empty stomach, it puts...
You are tuned in to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. Join us now on another exciting metaphysical journey. Relax, tune in, drop out, and take a seat by the fire as we explore new realms and possibilities. This is Magenta Pixie. You can find me at magentapixie.weebly.com. But now, here is Zany Mystic and guest. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Fireside Chat with Zany Mystic. I'm your host, Lance White. Today, my guest is Andrew Norton Webber. Andrew is an artist from North Carolina. In his commitment to healing himself and his family of debilitating illness, he has left no stone unturned to find the core essence of healing. As a result, he uncovered ancient spiritual truths which share a common denominator: water, or liquid gold. This is the second in an ongoing series in which we discuss the miraculous healing power of liquid therapies. So let's welcome Andrew back to the show now. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hey, Lance. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. About the same.
All right.
So we just did a show on Saturday, which introduced people to some of your research and findings, which I find quite miraculous and have been doing myself. So what would you like to cover in this show, the second in a series?
A literal internal pound of pressure against all the acids and minerals in your body. And so this one doctor, Dr. Hanish, came up with a way, even if you still want to eat 3 meals a day, to do it right when you wake up, and then just 10, 15 minutes before breakfast, and then halfway in between breakfast and lunch, and then 15 minutes before lunch, halfway in between lunch and dinner, before dinner, and maybe halfway in between bedtime, and then again before bedtime. That's a way to stretch it out and a way to get a whole gallon in. It seems very intimidating to people at first, to the idea of drinking a whole gallon. So another way that we found that makes it easier for people to get through it is to actually do more than just a pint when you first wake up. 2 pints, which would be a quart. That is one thing, but then we're even, some people have done a half a gallon right when they wake up, and that really, really gets the day started. And then you've only got half a gallon left for the rest of the day. And some people are having some troubles with sleeping. If you are doing that much water throughout the whole day, and if it's consistent even up till you go to bed, then you wake up a lot. And,
right.
Maybe every 1.5 to 2 hours, you just have to go pee. So it's possible that doing the half gallon right when you wake up, and then the rest of the half gallon during the rest of the middle of the day, might help with the sleep issue, and you won't be so full of water. But then you will have run the whole thing through yourself.